I had a run-in with a celebrity. Yes, I had a online run-in with a celebrity. I won't call it an argument because I had more of an argument with this person's supporters. But I'm going to tell you all about it on today's Madge Unmuted. I'm your hostess, Madge Madigan, and welcome, boy. We got a show for you today. I had a run-in with a celebrity online that I'm going to tell you about. I won't say argument. I didn't have an argument. No, I almost had an argument with the person's followers. It's so funny as I've become. I'm going to tell you about it, but as I've gotten older, I have had a internal struggle between extreme empathy and compassion and extreme bullshit detector. Call them like I see them. If a friend or somebody, I don't know, is talking about things that their boyfriend has done, and then the boyfriend has an excuse for everything, I want to say, Jesus Christ, that is such a load of horse shit. But then I try and be empathetic to that person. Or if somebody's obviously lying to my face, it's like, I know you're not telling the truth. Um, just stuff like that. And I do that often now. I don't do it in a nasty way, but if someone's lying to me and I know that exactly what happened, I'll say, yeah, that's not what happened. I saw it on film or whatever. So anyway, so I have this struggle. So I'm going to tell you about this exchange I had, and it's gonna tell you that it's gonna prove to you my conundrum that I've always wanted to like call out celebrities on bullshit. People have gotten so emboldened to do that online. I mean, I'm not even a celebrity. I'm not even famous. I just have you know, a few thousand followers on my podcast, and I'll have people that'll just say nasty things for no reason. I didn't do anything to them. I didn't say anything. And they just want to say like, "Oh, okay, old lady, get off my screen." Okay. It's that keyboard warrior mentality. So here is my struggle about, do I just say stuff about people I don't really care for, or do I have empathy? Case in point, Hillary Baldwin. Do we know who that is? Ilaria Baldwin, as she calls herself. That is Alec Baldwin's husband. And now I'm terrible. I'm using my phone. Her name is like Hillary, like Hayward Thomas Baldwin. And I don't know if you remember a few years ago, several years ago, I don't know if she only gained like notoriety or whatever because she was dating Alec Baldwin, or she got or not famous, not popular, whatever. She just started getting noticed for whatever. She was like a yoga instructor in New York City. And so then she starts dating Alec Baldwin, and she put on this facade that she was from Spain. She told everyone she spoke with a thick Spanish accent. She even did a segment on the Today Show where it was a cooking segment, and she's explaining in a thick Spanish accent. And she goes, and then you put in the, how you say, what is the cucumber or certain, or she couldn't acted like she couldn't remember the name for cucumber. And so then everybody got started calling her on her bullshit, and she kind of said, "Okay, right, I'm not really from there, but I grew up in a Spanish-speaking household, and my parents live in Mallorca now." And you know, it just kept going around and around. Now, I will be honest, and in the beginning when all that was going on, I was like, "Oh my god, this woman has borderline personality disorder." It was fresh on the heels of like Rachel Dolezal pretending to be African American. There's been a shitload of people that have pretended to be something they're not in their life. When I was first divorced in the early 2000s, and oops, in the early 2000s, and dating right out of divorce, there was all kinds of guys that called on the bullshit. Yeah, one guy said he was British. One guy said that he was Italian, and they owned vineyards in Italy. And he's the guy that I went out with him, and everybody's like, "Hey, Steve, how are you?" I can't remember what his name, or "Hey, Joe." He was kept calling himself Giuseppe. Whenever they're like, "Hey, you didn't come in the office today," I just like, dude, do you think I wasn't gonna find out? And then another guy called himself Stefan. He was supposedly a French tennis pro. I mean, look, there are times in our lives where we wanted to escape who we are. Got it. I've even done it in my life. I'll be honest. Oh, but quickly, go into the name thing. Yeah, everybody changes their name. You don't, not kind of to the extreme of another country's, another language's reputation of your name, but I don't know, whatever. Like I know a guy that I went to high school with. Everybody called him Jamie. Now he calls himself Jaime, but he is from Mexico, I guess. And I kind of think that's the name he was born with. But um, anyway, I digress. I, at times in my youth, this is only during college, there were a few times I pretended to be from the New York City area. Now, not not overtly, and not walking around like, yeah, I'm from New York, and this is my dad's a whatever famous urologist. I don't know. I didn't do that, but it was kind of this thing where I went to college in Maine, okay, and I'd be like, there are people who say, "Where are you from?" And I'd be like, "New York." New York State. You just people. Every other person can say, "I'm from Connecticut." Nobody. I'm from Rhode Island. I'm from Massachusetts. If you're not from that state, you could just say the state you're from. Well, New York, no. Everybody goes right to New York City. But so technically, I'm from New York. I'm from New York State. I hate when people, oh my God, there's such gatekeepers in this state about, you can't say you're upstate. You're not from upstate. You're not from New York. We hate, blah, 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 blah. Jesus, give it a rest. Anyway, so, there's all kinds of gatekeepers in New York State. Everybody wants to stake their claim from where they're from. So anyway, in college, I would say, they would be like New York, and I'd be like, oh yeah, yeah, oh sure, yeah, mostly involved alcohol, and it was just, and it wasn't people that I really knew. It was just easier to just go with that, and I thought it was going to make me more interesting. But also, I really, really, really wanted to be from New York. I really wanted to live there. I loved everything about it. I read the Village Voice every week. I read the New York Times every Sunday. I was really, really into New York. As far as I was concerned, I was going there right after. And I used to go there when I was in college. I was working at a camp, and on our days off, we'd go into New York. And I'd been there a few times. My grandmother lived in New Jersey. At I'd been in the area, so I would kind of get this. I would start having my kind of little drunk New York accent. Oh yeah, I live. No, I live. I would make a. If somebody really pressed, I would make up some um address where I was from, and it was like the New York Public Library or some shit. I don't know. Or I just say, oh, the village. Blah, blah. Anyway, sometimes we like to pretend. There's a lot of people that pretend shit. How people go into job interviews every day and pretend like they know what they're doing. People go on dates pretending they're somebody else. They're Anyway, I digress. So Hillary Baldwin, Ilaria Baldwin, as she goes by now, she loves the Spanish culture. She's fluent in Spanish, so she, you know, changed changed her name to Ilaria, having people call her that. Today, or no, was it yesterday? I think I open up Instagram, as I often do, and there is the account from Page Six. I follow Page Six and virtual reality, and it's a video. interview thing, whatever. And there's Hillary Baldwin to me, and she's like doing yoga. Or she's, I don't even know, it was just a really short clip. She was talking about some show she was going to be on, and she's like, oh no, look here, I'm going to do the yoga pose. And she gets up off and stands out front and she's doing yoga. Now, I'll be honest, like stuff like that annoys me because it's just a lot of like, look at me, but whatever, you know. And I will tell you what I said. My first comment on this clip of her, I said, oh my God, no, no, I thought we were done with her. And with the face palm. Now, the reason I said that because she was all over the place for a while. And she had this show, the reality show with her husband Alec and their 7 kids. And it was a lot of, not gonna lie, it was a lot of, look at me. And I thought they were, my opinion, thought they were milking a little bit the Alec Baldwin movie trial about the prop gun. Just, but I get it too. They were probably trying to generate some cash and tell his side and whatever. I don't know. Here I am being empathetic and compassionate rather than judgy. But in this exchange at first, I was judgy. Oh, because then after she did that, then she was on Dancing with the Stars, and it was all, she's a very she's attractive, she's a dancer, she's good at what she does, but there's also that air of like desperation. Sometimes it's a pick me thing. um Sorry. So anyway, there was just a lot of showiness. And oh, so a lot of people picked up on that and they voted her off. But then she was, going around saying, oh, they were bullying me and they're jealous and this, that, and other. And I just, sometimes it really bothers me when people aren't self-aware. However, maybe she's self-aware and she was just playing up having more drama to get more attention and more likes and more whatever. I don't know. I'm just telling you this. So then she comes on this thread. She responds to my comment. Now I know it's her account because I click on it. It says, well, 1.1 million followers, and it's got, thousands of posts and all these other celebrities follow her and stuff. And I'm like, okay, so usually I verify that shit first. However, whether it's really her or an assistant or someone on her team, everybody always, whenever they do something wrong online, it's always like my team did that or my assistant or I was hacked or whatever. So she responds to me, still here to haunt you. So I sat back and I was like, how do I respond to this? Because I'll be honest, we all have our moods. Sometimes we want to just have it out with someone that we don't really know because it's no consequence to us. You just want to fight it out online. Like I'll do that a lot. I'll ignore stuff that happens online or in real life because if somebody's being shitty to you, chances are it has absolutely nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with something that happened to them on a Tuesday. If they're being nasty or cruelty or whatever, it's usually they're taking out something that happened to them on you. So I thought about it. I don't know. I got this well, if it's her, I feel kind of bad. If it's her staff, I don't know, whatever. I don't know. I thought about it for a minute and I'm like, you know what? I really let me be a better person. Let me walk the walk because a lot of times in interviews, famous people they'll say about I went out of the limelight because it really took its toll, or people are really mean to you. I saw the interview with Caitlin Collins on with Jon Stewart on the Daily Show, and that's when every time she asks a question in a press conference, Trump belittles her, and she just is like, meh. And she's like, I'm just there to report. I don't take it personally. I don't take, but then she's like, I'm just doing my job. And okay, got it. Cool. I don't know how at some point you couldn't take things personally, but I admire her immensely. So then I thought about it and I just responded with a laughing face and I said, okay, touche, girl. Like, oh, okay, you got me. I mean, I don't know. It's just my way of getting out of it. Then she writes to me, girl, we would be friends if you knew me. This is a separate thing after the fact with a heart. I was like, I don't know, if this is her, but I was like, okay, whoever it is, let me just, even if it's not her, it's on this account, people think it's her, and I'll get likes and whatever. I'll get attention. Yes, I want attention. You know why I want attention? Because I want people to watch my podcast so I can make money and or follow me on social media so I can earn money. I'm a 61-year-old woman who has essentially most of my job opportunities dry up in the corporate world. Nobody wants a 61-year-old woman. So I've been having to make my own way. We own the bar, we get what we can out of that, but nobody's hiring a 61-year-old woman. So I would like to earn money and maybe give some words of wisdom like I'm doing with this one. Impart some wisdom to everybody or give you food for thought at the very least. So she says, girl, we would be friends if you knew me. And I respond, so I was like, oh, let me just play this one up. And I said, only if you, okay, now I know she lives in New York. I know she, at last her in the show they had an apartment in the village or something. Alec had always lived in the village. He's a village guy, not village people. Village guy. I don't know. There was some NYU connection because he was at my son's NYU orientation back in 2012. Anyway, and I live part time down in Connecticut, and I go to the village for work, or I go to New York, not the village, but I love the village. I have friends there. So I said, only if you like sipping dirty martinis in the East Village and listening to a sarcastic old lady bitch. Haha. Um, Laughing emoji, winking emoji, heart emoji. And I said, you're a good sport. Sorry for the remark. Loved your husband on 30 Rock and in Wegmans commercials. And then she responded, let's do it sometime with a laughing emoji and a heart. I didn't respond after that. Unless she sees this, I'll meet you, sure. But no, I mean, I did. I had the absolute worst crush on Alec Baldwin back in the day. God, he was so handsome. And I'm closer to his age than you. But no, I'm kidding. You're the one that had, um, they got kids, and maybe she'll see this, and we will go out for a martini. I don't know. Doubtful, but maybe that should be my new thing. Is I should just start having fights, or just start talking crap to celebrities online in hopes that they'll talk to me. I've actually had celebrities talk to me before, or people that were somewhat famous, like, but it's Bravo people who I know it's part of their contract that to engage on social media. What do you call it? You answer comments and whatnot, so it creates engagement. It creates talk. It will hopefully help you endear you to people. So I remember one time, Reza Farhan, is that how I pronounce it? A Shahs of Sunset, and then the Valley Persian Style. I don't know, a little like a year or two ago, he posted something and I commented like, "Oh my god," and he was just like, "Oh my god, girl, yeah," and I was like, again, who knows? But the one that I do think was actually As if you've watched not it's not Ladies of London. No, Ladies of London. Yes, there's a new Real Housewives of London that I'm sorry, I just find it so boring. I can't get into it. They're stiff. Ladies of London, they were so much fun, so funny. I loved them, and that one's on pause. But anyway, Ladies of London, I in like after the first episode, like the first night, I loved Martha. And so like I went and looked up all the ones that I liked online and I followed them. And now Martha maybe had like 1,000 followers or something. And I was like, "Oh my god, you're my new bestie." And she like wrote back, like, "Oh, yeah, hey bestie, what's up?" And then we exchanged a few more things and I could just tell the way she was responding. It was probably her, because she hadn't gotten big enough, whatever. Even if it wasn't, whatever, you know, stranger things have happened. There are people that who are celebrities that met their spouse online because they slid into their DMs. Um, it happens. Is it likely? No, but I don't care. It made me. I had kind of a moment of like, people in the limelight are people too, you know. Be careful. Although, if there's someone incredibly heinous that just like has turned out to be a murderer or a essayer or a P3DO, yeah, they can have at it. But I don't know. I still try and not go at them with both barrels because people in glass houses, right? But also, in my quest to be, if I want to be a person in the limelight, why don't I start with some good energy and not do that to other people in hopes that if that does happen to me today, when it happens to me someday, that people aren't horrible to me, um, and if they are, I get a thicker skin. So, lesson learned, Ilaria Baldwin. Good on you for making me see your humanity, or whoever was writing the responses. So, but also, I want to say one more thing about that is that the people that were the very fanatical people that were defending her in there too was kind of weird. Like, what do you know? What do you know? I get it. I don't know how much of it was, it seemed borderline. I don't know how much of it was actually defending her, like she's a good person, or just being a fanatic. But also, it wasn't that bad of a comment. I was just like, oh, because we hadn't seen her after what Dancing with the Stars. You hadn't seen her. Thought she was kind of done. I thought she was done with trying to do showbiz. And all these people, and one lady who's had like has like 12 followers. Who are you? And I'm like, I didn't claim to be anybody. It was just ridiculous to defend someone to the, I don't want to say to the death, but to defend someone so emphatically to someone you have no idea who they are in an offhanded comment that really wasn't that bad isn't really any better. So, there were people that liked my response, that I came around and I was like, hey, okay, you're cool, or you're okay in my book. To me, that was more important, to have a show of, okay, you can be, what's the word? You can have your opinion turned, or you can eat your words. You can come out with one thing and then you talk your way, you talk through it. Things can be taught and you realize, maybe we have more in common than we don't. And that's kind of what happened. Or it's just like, hey, look, you're a person too. There's no reason for me to be mean. So, the end. A story, the end. But hey, hopefully I'll have some more famous people, celebrities. Hey, if you're a celebrity A B C D E F G Z category, and you want to respond to me, let's have a go at it, shall we? I'm always up for some witty banter. And then I'll mention you on my podcast because I didn't have anything else to talk about this week. No, it was just a lesson that I thought was important since people are so nasty online these days. Let's consider other people's feelings sometimes. Um, so come and find me at Madge Madigan or at Madge Unmuted Podcast. Those are some of my social handles. And of course, my video podcast is on YouTube. Audio podcast is everywhere you get your podcasts. Please subscribe, like, share, review, reduce, reuse, recycle, as we like to say here, on the Madge Unmuted show. And I hope that you will join me next week on the next episode of Madge Unmuted. Bye.